read the DM really quick, and Jesse, you can
Yeah,
go
maybe do
and
that.
kind of go into it. So, um, goes, hey, Chris, if you guys ever consider doing another ladies' night, I'd love to join. I'm a conservative woman, 28 years old, married to a high value man. And some of the women on here just really aren't getting it and arguing pointlessly. When your man says no, it's a no. He leads and knows what's best for the context of the relationship within his leadership. Thanks for your time. Have a nice day. So I would love to have you expand on that a little bit and talk a little bit about those views and your trust in your husband as the leader and sort of making those decisions.
Yeah. So I've dated people before in the past, and I've noticed that once I, started this relationship and then got married, 95% of the arguments that we've had in the past are because I'm not choosing to submit. I'm not choosing to let him take it and trust him to do that. And I found that when I have allowed that, and now that we're in that stage, our marriage is amazing. It's going really well. He is the leader. He goes to work. I work from home and take care of the house. And it's a wonderful marriage. So, yeah.
Do you guys have kids?
Not yet. Hopefully soon.
What was the catalyst? Like, why did you have to shift? Why did you surrender? Why did you end up deciding that you needed to submit to him and follow his lead?
I think it was just like when I realized I was doing it, it was so much easier. I think when I was not doing it, it was just more of an experience. Like when I noticed we were not in that sync, I was having more issues. We just weren't getting along very well. But I noticed once I did, it allowed him to kind of step into that role fully. And it really just makes my life so much easier so that I can kind of go into, I guess, like my full feminine energy is kind of more or less what I look at it as.
Do you fully trust him to lead, to be a man, to be masculine?
Yes.
Like, yeah. Do you think that, and I guess this is a question for all the women on the panel, like, do you think that you could get to a place where Jessica's at, where you could submit to a man and follow his lead, or does it have to be equal? Do you guys have to be an equal partnership? Like, what's all your view on that?
I'll start, I
Go
guess.
ahead, Anna. Yeah.
I feel like I would never, I don't know. I guess I don't like the word submit because that makes it seem like the power is being taken from me. And I don't know. I'm also not religious, so I feel like, trusting the man to lead, isn't really something that I grew up hearing about and stuff. So that's just not a relationship that I think I could be in, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work for you. It obviously does.
What power is being stolen from you? If I can just get some clarity on that.
I think it's imagined. There's, relationship dynamics. There is power, whether or not you see it or feel it. Who makes the most money, who makes decisions if you have kids, who is the disciplinarian, who gets to make the choices, who wears the pants, I guess, in a sense. And for me to just totally lay on my back and submit, I'm not saying that's what you do, but the way I understand it, I don't know. That's just not something I would be interested in. But personally,
isn't that the reason why there's only one steering wheel in a car and there's a passenger seat on the other side?
I think a relationship is a lot more complex than a car.
Okay.
A lot more parts to that.
Okay. Nicole, you're kind of getting ready to say something. I want to hear it now.
Am I? Yeah, that's the only way I would do a relationship, is if I fully trusted a man to lead and to make decisions for our life as a family. When I was younger, I did relationships a different way. And then when I switched the way I did relationships, they were much more peaceful and fulfilling. And so that's actually, when you say, would I be open to it? That's really the only dynamic I would sign up for in marriage. The thing with that is that I think that dynamic, it is a Christian value, right? It comes from Ephesians. And I think there are a lot of men who want women to submit while they're not doing the first part of what they're called to do, which is to give their entire lives sacrificially to a woman for her good. So it's complicated, but yeah, if I were to get married, it would only be within that dynamic.
What about you, Aubrey?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just, I'd have to trust him 100%, or I won't marry him because of that. Yeah.
Okay, so you got to be with a giant. You got to look up to him. He's got to be somebody that you could submit to and surrender to.
Yeah, like if there's like a life decision to be made, I want to be able to say like, I trust his long-term thinking and decision making, and I'm going to give my opinion, and I might like butt heads back and forth, and that's healthy and good. But I'd want to feel safe deferring to him.
Let me just hover on that for a sec before I go back to Aubrey. So, what would happen if you would say to you, like, you were vehemently opposed to a certain idea, and he said, "Look, that's just the way that it is. It's my way or the highway." Would you be okay? Like, would you be able to take a back seat, you know, hop in the passenger seat, just be cool with that?
Yeah, I mean, a man that I would marry would never say to me, "It's my way or the highway." I think delivery is important.
You're vehemently opposed to his position, though, you know, at this point.
Oh, if I'm vehemently, if it's not like sinful, if it doesn't go against our shared values, then I would go that way, because it has to go some way. So I'd go his way.
Okay. Aubrey?
Yeah, I feel pretty similarly. I'm not gonna go into a relationship with a person that I wouldn't trust to lead. Ultimately, like, women make a lot of decisions based off their emotions and are typically kind of more chaotic with emotions than men are. And so I think it's important to be able to like step into, not like step into someone's frame, but kind of like allow them to take the lead and make the decisions that would be more difficult for you to make.
Anna, I think you said you're in therapist or you do therapy?
Yes.
What do you do exactly?
As an LPC.
What's an LPC?
A licensed, sorry, I can't even, a licensed, what is it? Something counselor. I can't think right now.
I think it's practicing.
I think so. I was licensed not too long ago, so.
Okay, and is this something that you do every day, or is this a part-time thing? Or are you schooling to get into it, or?
No, I do it remotely, actually, from my house.
Okay, so like, you do couples counseling? Is that what it is?
Hell no.
Hell no.
That stuff. Oh no. Couples is probably the worst. Individual is more my thing.
Oh, okay. So, have you ever submitted to a guy before? Like, you ever found yourself in a position where, you know, you just saw this guy as like basically like the shit? He's you know, he's got it together. I can enter his frame. I can give myself to him, trust him, everything. Or is that exposure to too much discomfort? Because I mean, you said that, what did you say earlier? It was something along the lines of, you know, giving up that freedom, the power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, power is a strong word, right?
Yeah. I mean, if the relationship is mine that I'm in, that's my life, I would like to be somewhat in control of my life. You know, I don't want to submit to a man. Like, sure, you can have a good idea and we can talk about a decision, and I would love to be a part of that. But if you're going to, you know, say, oh, this is what we're doing, like, okay, we can do that, but why? I would like to be agreeing to that and not just be like, oh, you're the man, so let's go.
I would agree with that. Like, when I think about getting into a relationship and trusting men in that way, to lead in that way, because I agree, I don't like the term submit, because it does kind of sound like almost like a dog like submitting to its master. Like, I don't feel like, I guess when I think about it that way, I think in a more so like in reference to the car, there's only one driver's seat, but in the passenger seat, maybe you have the person with the map that's telling you like, okay, this is, you know, giving you directions of like, this is the quickest way to get to this, or this is my opinion on whatever else. But ultimately it's up to that person of whether they're going to steer the car that way or not.
Yeah.
I think Aubrey hits on a really important point, but I want to go back to Anna really quick. It's like, Anna, what's the fear, right? What do you keep saying giving up control or giving up power? Like, what is this ultimate fear that you have if you happen to, like, what situation are you afraid of finding yourself in if you give up this control or give up this, you know, sovereignty?
I don't think it's fear, but I don't know. I would like to be somewhat in control of my life. Also, you know, in therapy, I see a lot of abuse in relationships. And I'm not saying that just because a man is in control and has, you know, power, whatever, that he's abusive, but Financial abuse, huge. I see that so much.
Can
you know,
you
emotional.
define
What
what
is that? What is that
financial
exactly?
abuse is, so we understand?
Say that one more time. You guys are both talking.
If you can define what financial abuse is, just so we understand it, so our viewers understand it.
So financial abuse can be anybody just making sure that you don't have money, that you don't have funds, you can't put gas in your car, you can't go, shutting down, your bank cards, credit cards, taking you off the bank completely, so you can't even apply for a new card, things like that. Even shutting off your phone and making sure that you don't have a phone anymore.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, when I listen to you speak, and I don't doubt that these things happen in marriages. When I'm thinking about submitting to a husband, I'm coming from a place of like where I'm assuming he wants what's best for me and what's good for me. So, because a good leader asks questions, he wants to give people like what they want, right? Like he's like a caring, loving, sacrificing leader. Like this is like servant leadership almost. So I would expect my husband to like want to please me and want to make me happy and make me want to be open and vulnerable. He'll ask me like, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? Like, I think when a dynamic's healthy, a man ultimately wants to make a woman happy and a woman wants to make him happy. Of course, it's always like dysfunction, but making models based off like dysfunction, I don't think is like the best route. I think there needs to be like safety nets and things for dysfunction. But the norm, I would think, is both parties being equal in dignity, with the man being the head, having all the responsibility on his shoulders to make it work and to make the woman happy and for her to, be his 100% support. So.
Well, and I think even getting into that, like from the beginning, is it isn't just giving, I guess, and like you said, like that power, but it isn't just giving that to a man right off the bat. It's going through the process of before you even enter into a relationship with them, like they have to prove themselves to you, and work for it, not just giving it to anyone just because. So it's after like building that trust in them and knowing that they do want the best for you, and not necessarily, not making it easy, just not being easy for them to get that necessarily. Not like playing games, but that way it's something like you are able to put trust into, that they do want what's best for you, kind of thing.
I think this is sorry,
go ahead.
But I think this is more of a question for maybe Nicole and Aubrey at this point. But what percentage of men that you've come across, that you've dated, are worthy of submitting to, are strong, are virtuous, are leaders, are competent, are capable, tick off the boxes where you're willing to give yourself to him and enter his frame and be a complement to his life and follow his lead?
Probably about the same amount of women that are willing to do what you just said. I don't know.
Probably not wrong.
Not many on either side. Like I don't think it's like a man or a woman thing. I think it's a both thing, and it's just not a dynamic that the majority, are into.
Is this something that you've arrived at recently, Nicole, or is this something that you've sort of like always believed?
It's been about 10 or 11 years, but before that I believed very differently. Yeah.
Okay. So what changed over the 10 or 11 years? Like, why did you shift from probably what Anna has, as far as a belief in that sense, to where you are today?
I think when I was younger, I came to a point where I felt that I had been sort of lied to. Like there was like this sense of disillusionment. And I felt that I was like really cut off from a big part of my womanhood and my maternity. And I don't mean just biological children. And so I just explored it myself, and I started reading, and I ended up reverting back to my Catholic faith. And there was a man that I was with at the time who was not a believer, but I just sort of started acting as if with him, like letting him make decisions, letting him take the lead. Like, and I was like, oh, wow, even with him, this is so much better. Mm-hmm. We broke it off. I didn't want to marry him because my values had shifted and his didn't. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to trust his leadership. And that was like, I had decided that's what I wanted. So I was like, okay, I could get married now and struggle, or I could not get married and then I may never get married because of my age, but I'd rather be alone than in a backwards topsy-turvy dynamic. So yeah, so it's been like a decade, a little over a decade.
Let me ask you this question, Anna, because the notion of submitting to a man is like, I'm looking at marriage vows from different types of religion. It seems to be like it's infused into most of them. I pledge in honesty and with sincerity to be with you for an obedient and faithful wife, right?
Sure.
Is that something that you would be able to comfortably say at a wedding ceremony, to in front of your family, in front of the church, in front of your husband, in front of everybody? Or is
Yeah,
that
sure.
like
I'll say anything,
a hand
honestly.
squeeze, like as you're saying it, sort of under the towel or the wrap or whatever?
Honestly, if I ever get married, like it's probably not going to be in a church.
Mm.
I already said I didn't grow up religious. I still like if I would love to believe in something. I really would, but I don't.
Mm.
So, could I say it? Yeah. Does it make me uncomfortable? No. I'm glad other people have faith, makes you a better person, whatever. Great. But it's just not something that I've ever like done. I've tried to go to church. I had
Yeah.
a boyfriend, not too long ago that's a long story, but I went to church for him and that just blew up in my face. So,
Can you explain
but
why? Like, can you dive down that for us? Or
oh,
what do you think?
everything that was wrong with me was because I didn't know Jesus. And anytime that there was a disagreement between us, he would call his mom and she would come over with a Bible and read scripture, thinking that that would like somehow resolve the fight. I don't know.
That didn't turn you on and didn't make him more attractive to you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Jessica, what advice do you have? Like, what is a woman's obligation in a long-term relationship or a marriage?
Oh gosh. There's a lot. So when people say like, oh, I can't just submit and just like do nothing. I mean, I do a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm making sure that the house is running well. I'm making sure that, um, that cleaning my house, making sure that my husband has dinner on the table every night, making sure that things are getting done, organized within our home. I know that people might look at it like, oh, you're just like a servant or something, but we need those things to live and thrive so that he can go to work and be the best person that he can be, so that he can come home and that we can have time together, make memories together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could go into it, but
I think that hits back to Aubrey's point of the passenger with the map, right? I think that there's this misconception that guys out there just want robots made of plastic and silicone just to sit there and shut up and just to be seen and not heard. And all the guys that I know in our community and the guys that I know that are successful LTRs or that are looking to be in successful LTRs are looking for a woman to complement their life. And I think, Jessica, you hit on a really important point. Like, there are things that your husband is free to do because he doesn't have to worry about dinner being ready or the house being clean, or you are able to make his life easier and free up time so he can work more hours, he can be more in a relaxed mood, so you guys can enjoy time spending together. And I think that's what most guys are looking for. They're looking at a complementary and a interdependent relationship. I talk about this all the time, where I think we've completely overshot, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Look, no one's disputing that women couldn't get credit cards, or sometimes they couldn't open bank accounts, or sometimes they weren't even allowed to work and they were completely dependent on their husband. And we've gone from a completely dependence model to a independence model. I mean, independent in itself means by yourself. It means separate from one another. And we are no longer, we completely skipped over interdependence, where each person brings something valuable and complementary to the other, to independence, where you have two people that are fighting for this control. And these men out here that are looking for relationships, if that's what they're doing, and they're looking for women to spend time with, the last thing they want to do is argue and bicker and have to negotiate over every single little decision that might affect the both of you.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here. And pinned down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.